All right, we are now joined by the pole sitter for tomorrow's Cookout 400 at Martinsville Speedway, Denny Hamlin. We'll go straight to questions. If you have a question for Denny, please raise your hand and we'll get a microphone to you. We'll start with Peter right here.
Right here, Denny. Peter Strada with TSJ Sports. I know you were on Harvick's podcast earlier this week. Obviously, you just broke the tie with him in wins. How would you characterize the relationship you two had from being competitors together all those years to his time being out of the car as a broadcaster?
Yeah, I mean, very similar to kind of how we talked about last week. The teammates is very similar. we weren't great friends on the racetrack. We had some run-ins here and there. Later in his career, we were definitely a lot more friendly, and certainly, you talk about those years like 2020, 2021, when it was our team versus their team, usually on a weekly basis. Just gained just a ton of respect for him and his whole team through that run, and so we raced really well together, probably the last 10 years of my career.
We'll go to Jeff, then we'll go to John next.
Looks like you're now tied for 10th on all-time polls. I haven't heard you talk about whether that stat ever matters to you.
I didn't know. No.
Yeah, you're tied for 10th in that too. So
Where's ninth?
Ninth is Newman. I think he's only 2 away from that. Right. Yeah, you're only 2 away from Newman. So, I mean, what do you think of that?
It's pretty awesome. I mean, it's that really with age, the hardest part is actually still having the fast time. You know what I mean? It's one thing to be able to kind of manage races and understand, use your experience to your advantage, but usually the first thing to go is your all-out speed, and we're still knocking off poles, which is really good. So, I mean, I remember, listen, I was around when Newman was just unstoppable, in qualifying. So, I mean, I didn't know he had that many. That was a lot.
We'll go to John next, and we'll come back up front to Holly and then to Tim.
John Newby, fan buzz. I mean, you kind of partially answered this already since Jeff was asking it as well. But I was curious when you're looking at like some of those guys ahead of you, like Billy Elliott has 55, Mark Martin is 56. At the pace you had last year, it's possible you can chase some of them down. So I guess, how important are some of those goals? Because I know like Kurt wanted to be a member of like a specific club before he had to retire.
Yeah, I don't know whether it will change much other than just, make me feel better. The thing is that, I can't compromise my preparation for a race to like really focus on. All right, well, I want to get 5 more poles, right? It's just if I never get another one, that's possible. I never get another one. Then that's fine. But I never really go into any weekend thinking about qualifying on the pole. It's kind of a sidebar for how did my Saturday go.
Come to Holly next.
Hi, Denny. Holly Kane with the NASCAR Wire Service. Again, kind of along those lines. Is it surprising for you? Did you expect that you guys would qualify out front like this? How does this kind of cap your day, I guess?
I knew it was possible simply from kind of where my car was in practice. And anytime that, I've got fast lap speed in practice here at Martinsville that's in the top 12, I think that you're close enough there that qualifying trim doesn't change your car that much. And so you've got enough speed to where if you nail it and you do a good job as a driver, you've got a chance at the pole. So I knew it was very possible. But truthfully, I approached the lap to get in the top 8. That was the goal, and executing that lap is that I think I would go faster if I went out and did it again right now. But I think I'll go ahead and stand on my time on this one.
Stay up front. We'll go to Zach, then to Kelly, and then to Tim.
Zach Halbert, NASCAR.com. Denny, Tyler's been pretty frank about how tough this place has been for him. How do you teach this place? And just to somebody who may not have quite the rhythm or the success or anything like that, just how can you kind of take them under your wing even and just say, like, look, this is how it works?
I think in a few years I'll be able to do that more with him. And there's plenty of tracks where I think that he can improve greatly, and I could probably help him with that. That's the advantage that team has right now, is that just they got an extra teammate over there, and I'm certainly unleashing all my journal of decades of notes that those guys get to hear each and every Monday. But this place, it takes time, and it takes when I say it takes time, not like experience time, it would take a solid 2 races here of just in his ear after practice, qualifying race, to just change a few things here and there to change the style, change the approach, and more than likely be right there.
And he was a hot commodity when you guys signed him in the summer of 22, and it could be argued his market value is about as high as it could be right now. How important is it just to lock him up and have him as part of 2311's long-term future?
Yeah, he will be, and Tyler's one of those guys that was very important for us to get our hands on him very early, as you talked about. But I think he's lived up to the expectations for us. Certainly last year was not great, but like when his not great years are still in the top 10, like those are the elite drivers. And so we're seeing this year he's putting it all together, and our race cars are really fast too. They really are, and what I like about it is they're winning races that they're overcoming something. They're not just flat out dominating them. So that shows his maturity.
Come up to Kelly right next.
Kelly, ChronoRacer.com. Denny, a Tyler question as well. He came in earlier and he did kind of laugh about it, and he said, yes, if we can keep contending for wins and winning races and scoring all these points, it's not going to be good for my head, meaning his ego. Is that something really that you would even worry about with somebody like him?
No. I've been around lots of divas before, and he's not there yet. I mean, his teammate's definitely more of a diva than what Tyler is. That is 100% accurate.
That's no way to talk about Riley.
Riley is the most humble of them all, and it's not even remotely close. It's just he's still, he's someone that just is still willing to learn on race winning weekends, and that to me is just, he doesn't, even after this hot start, and I'm felt like hundreds of points behind him, he's still asking me questions like he's behind me. He's like, well, what about this, and what about that, and what about this? And so he's still very much the student who is going to continue to just keep getting better and better.
And then looking at tomorrow, considering that we have the higher horsepower here, and this marks like the first, I guess you could say, traditional short track, how much stock should we take into what we see, we the media, trying to maybe stack everybody up after the first short track race?
I'm guessing then you're not going to consider Phoenix short track. I mean, it's faster than here. Yeah, it's a hybrid, certainly. Yeah, you can take some from, but this is such its own beast. It really is. There's been years that our short track package has not been good at Joe Gibbs Racing. We still come here and do what we normally do. So I think you can take some stock in it, but you're gonna have to get past Richmond to really understand where the field's at.
Go Jordan next.
Jordan Bianchi, The Athletic. You talked about being on Reddick's ear, constantly going to debriefings and everything. If you want to, are you looking forward to that when you retire and being an all hands-on? You don't have to worry about JGR or anything like that. It's just being a team owner.
I think they'll get better when that happens. I certainly, but maybe not, because it's just there's no other owner that's able to understand what these drivers are talking about, and able to designate resources to fix and there's no other owners that can challenge when I hear something that I don't think is necessarily correct, and I can say, what about? Are you sure something else doesn't lead to that? And then it prompts another thought, and it's, yeah, you know what? Maybe that's it. Because next thing you know, because they could be going off in a rabbit hole type of path, and so that's just really the strategic advantage that we have over there. But when I stop driving, I think I'll still be able to contribute for a couple years because I'll be fresh out of the car. But eventually it will be more traditional, like other teams are.
Should it scare the competition that 2311 could even be even better then once you're 100% in all the time? Because considering what you guys are doing now, it's pretty darn good.
Yeah, but I think there's negatives too, right? Once I get out of the car, I can't fully challenge them on, are you sure the track did this? Because I was there. And so I will lose a little bit of that. So I think what gets gained might get lost. It could be a wash.
Go to Tim next.
Tim Moore Motorsports Today. Denny, just checking in. Back at the Clash, you announced, obviously, your injury. I'm just wondering at this point, how are you physically feeling now that you've faced a variety of tracks? And you also had mentioned as well that there's a lot of things that you're going to be missing out on in terms of preparation that you like to do but you can't do. How have you been able to adapt to that to this point in the year?
Just get fatter, truthfully. I can't play the sports I like to play. That's about it. But it's holding up well for to be this point. A lot of it too is that I'm really being cautious with all the other things to not aggravate. So when I come here on the weekend, I know that it's like 100%. It's as good as it's going to be. So it's not too bad. Last week, last week wore me down pretty good. It's been a while since I've been that wore down after a race, and certainly felt it in the shoulder. But I feel like if it stays on this pace, I'll be fine for the end of the year.
Let's take our final few questions. We'll go to Trey right here, and then we'll go to Claire.
Trey Lyle, frontstretch.com. Denny, this week, obviously, someone you know pretty well has been at the center of some Hall of Fame discussion, controversy, and I see you tweeted you agreed with Kenny Wallace's take. So ultimately, what do you think about this idea that the NASCAR Hall of Fame should consider the other series in terms of selection?
Well, I think they do, but check me out Monday night. We'll talk about it.
Claire B. Lang, Dialed In Journal. You lead the field to green. You're so good at this racetrack. What should fans look for? Like, we look at Martinsville. It's like, yep, same old Martinsville. But really, to a guy like you that really knows what's going on from behind the wheel, what could you tell the fans about what to watch for here this time around?
I don't think from the fans sitting in the stands perspective, you'll see a whole lot of difference, but there certainly will be inside the car. This place is really technical. It's going to make it harder to hit your marks with the additional horsepower and certainly the tire change that we had from last fall. So, what are you looking for? What happens when the leader gets to the back of the pack? That's what you should pay attention to. Who gets stuck, and then who keeps going forward and passing cars. That's going to be the X factor.
Any final questions for Denny today? We'll take one final one in the back over here.
Zach Moore for Rolling By. Denny, this might be a long question, but on your podcast, you brought up how you're proud of 2311 for what they're doing with a team that has way less employees than the Big Three. But then on the Kevin Harvick podcast, you brought up how you wouldn't hire as many employees if they had more off weeks. So I'm just curious: is it in this era? Is it less about employees? Is it more about the smart men and women you hire to have success?
Well, that's a good question. The general question is really good, and it would take a really long time to explain it all. But if you're building a race team and it is a puzzle, all I did was put the big pieces in, and then they filled out all the other little pieces of this thing to make it kind of what it is, right? So the main 10, 12 guys, those are the ones I went and recruited and said, these are the ones I want running these departments, and they know talent when they see it, and they're going to go then hire the right people to the smaller pieces that fit in, that makes this whole thing work. Again, though, we have a less people because we pay a hefty service fee to JGR, right? We could take that $8 million. Is that, then aren't we just doubling up? Aren't we just doing the same work that they're doing 2 miles away? Is that the best thing for Toyota? I'm not really sure. I think it's better when we work together, consolidate resources, and at that point, have 7 cars that are going out there and competing.
All right, Danny, appreciate you coming in, and then good luck tomorrow's race.
Thanks.